Hi, thanks for joining me. One of the first questions my downsizing clients have when I meet with them is, what am I going to do with all this stuff? The following is a recording of a live Zoom workshop I did on decluttering to help answer this question. If you or someone you know is considering a downsizing move, this is a great place to start. When you're finished watching, check out my website, jillhartrealtor.com, for more information on my book, Downsizing with Hart, nationwide consulting options, and real estate services for those local in the Western North Carolina area. Enjoy the video. One of the biggest concerns of my clients who want to downsize is what to do with all of their stuff they've accumulated over the years. But it doesn't really matter if you're moving or staying put. Clutter can be a real concern and it can be a real problem in people's lives. Now, what I want to convey is a clutter-free home doesn't have to mean that it is sterile or barren, like the magazines with everything that's white. In my opinion, that's extreme. And it's very difficult for people to picture themselves living in a home like that. So they're a little scared of decluttering. Today, we're going to explore what you consider to be clutter and how you can kind of stress-free eliminate things that don't bring meaning and beauty to your life. So these are going to be your decisions. First, I have some questions to help you conjure up some feelings about your clutter. And when you think about the answers to these questions, notice how you feel. You don't have to answer out loud. Just notice your thoughts, your feelings, and your physical reaction. And I'm just going to kind of ask the questions and then give you a couple of quiet seconds to just think about it and really get those feelings in your mind. If I came to your house today with 3 big bags of groceries, would I have space to set them down on your kitchen counter immediately? If not, what would you have to move? And where would you put it? Okay, let's move to a different room. What's under your bathroom sink? Not just in the front that you use every day, but way in the back. Do you have clothes hanging in your closet that you never wear? What about with tags still hanging on them? What's in your linen closet? And here are the biggies. If I went into your attic, your basement, or your garage, what would I see? Now, as you think about these areas of your home, are there any particular spots that kind of make you feel tense? Your blood pressure might rise just a little bit. You might feel anxious. You might feel guilty. Did you have any answers like, I don't know? I don't know. I don't know what's in the back of my bathroom cabinet. If that happened, you may have a clutter issue. I'm not going to say a problem, but you might have some spaces that need some work. Okay. Now, have you been putting off decluttering because you know it's going to be hard? You just know it. You've tried before, but you've gotten sidetracked because you've started strolling down memory lane as you look through things. Or maybe you're discouraged because you just can't bear the thought of letting things go. It's just, It's too much. So you just shut down. It doesn't matter what situation you find yourself in seeking help with going through these items. Today, I'm going to give you some practical tips to help you change your thoughts about this process and help you reach your goal of like living in a comfortable home where you don't look around and get stressed out about what you see. Now, even if you're sentimental, it's okay, because later on, we're going to talk about some strategies that is going to really help get you through when the nostalgia might just make you a little bit misty-eyed. You know, I have some stories about that. So for those of you that don't know me, I think I've pretty much met everybody, but of course, I'm Jill Hart, and I've actually helped hundreds of people declutter. For some, I'd not only teach them how to declutter, but I help them pare down their belongings enough to sell their big houses and live happily in a smaller, more manageable home. I've even done it for myself. Some of you have already heard my story. In 2011, we sold a 3,500 square foot house and moved our family of 4, including 2 teenage girls and a dog, to a 900 square foot rental. Now, I do not recommend that. It was too much of a downsize at once with too much family. But at the time, we didn't have any other option. That was all we could do. But we survived, even with 2 teenage girls living in the same teeny tiny bedroom, and purchased a slightly larger, modest, about 1,800 square foot home. So the process really taught me that you can live with way less than you think. It's just a process. So everybody has a different perception of clutter. Now, I alluded to this before. You don't have to be a minimalist to have an uncluttered home. I mean, you can see behind me, I have stuff. I'm not like a whitewashed wall person. Ideally, decluttering allows you to keep and enjoy the things that add value to your life. So did you notice that word? Keep. You get to keep things. But at the same time, you're going to let go of things that are redundant or that you don't need. And the key is you're going to do this without feeling guilty. You know that unsettled feeling when you see things laying around the house and you think, oh my gosh, I know I need to do something with that. Or the stuff is shoved away in storage and you know it's there and you need to work on it, but you just can't. It kind of ruins your feeling of calm that you should have in your home. So the best definition of clutter that I have ever heard, and it really guides my personal life, it reminds me what clutter is that clutter is an unmade decision. So today, as we're talking about different situations, you're going to see how this really simple definition, an unmade decision, can really be the catalyst for change. I say this to myself all the time. I'll say, I'm just going to take this out of the car and put it on this shelf right here. But then I say to myself, I'm doing it because I don't want to make a decision of where to put it away right now. Can I go ahead and make that decision and take action on that decision? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But clutter is an unmade decision. The more unmade decisions you have, the more clutter you're going to have. Now, of course, there's some people who have an unhealthy relationship with clutter, like hoarding. So not talking to anybody like that. That's going to need professional help. I'm just talking about general clutter. All right. There's a couple of reasons that people want to declutter. First, they are over all the stuff they have in their house. They're just over it. They can't find anything. They have piles everywhere. They don't have enough storage to get things off their counters. Their storage areas and their closets are just like exploding. And they just think, "Oh, I just want to live a relaxed life and stop looking at all this stuff. It just brings me stress." And then the other group of people who I work with more often are anticipating a move, like a downsizing move. And they just say, "I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how I'm going to sort through and pack everything. So I'm just going to sit here and do nothing." It's like paralysis. So, how many of you are in category one? Just, "Oh, I'm tired of looking at the stuff." Or two, thinking about moving, but you have no idea where to start. All right, we're going to help you today. The reason you want to declutter, it doesn't really matter. Once you get started doing it, whether you're staying or moving, you're going to see some advantages. For example, do you notice the mental energy it took to think about your kitchen, your bathroom cabinet, and especially the attic, the garage, the basement where all that stuff is stored? Your brain has categorized all those things that you're storing. It's keeping that information in there ready for recall. Where is this? What do I have there? Um, and then once you make the decision to let something go and follow through with that, your brain lets go of it. So by getting rid of the physical clutter, you're going to be freeing space in your mind for other things that are more important. When we moved into that small rental, the 900 square foot rental with the two kids, we packed up everything. We knew we were going to stay there a couple months. We packed up everything that we didn't anticipate using over the next couple months, and we put it in an off-site storage. The movers came, was all in boxes. They took it away. And it was a lot. I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is a lot." But mentally, I let it go because it was away. It was not in my physical space. It was just gone. It wasn't stored close by. And for a while, I could remember what I had packed, but the weeks turned into months and it kind of faded. I was like, I vaguely remember that, but I'm not really sure. And even though we thought we'd just be in that rental for a couple months, it turned out to be a whole year. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even remember what's there." So we moved into our new house and I got everything set up and I thought, "Oh my gosh, there's so much room and I have everything right where I want it." And then I remembered, "Oh my gosh, I have all that stuff still in storage." I literally almost forgot about the stuff I had put and had paid for a year to have stored. So I called the movers and I was like, "Bring the stuff." They brought me probably my whole garage full of boxes, two-car garage. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what could possibly be in here?" Everything, it seemed like I had everything I needed. And so I started opening the boxes. It was kind of like Christmas. I was like, "Oh, I totally forgot about this. What did some things I was like, what did I need this for? Why did I save it? Why did I pack it? Why did I pay to store it for all this time?" That was really a very good few weeks for some local thrift stores. I was loading up my van and taking stuff all the time. I basically had moved on with my life. My brain had forgotten about those things and let them go. And that's just a lesson for me. It was amazing that now as I regularly clean things out, I really mentally let it go very quickly. I can't even tell you what was in the last load I took to the Council on Aging thrift store. My brain doesn't categorize it anymore. It doesn't keep it. And that's a good thing because I have a lot more important things to remember. Another thing about clutter, of course, is it can be a safety hazard. I have been in homes with everything from clothes to mail scattered all over the floor. Of course, doesn't matter what age you are, that is a trip and fall risk. I've been in attics with old magazines, newspapers, books, all stacked up in the attic. And that could be deadly if the home ever caught fire. Clients on oxygen are sitting among collections with a thick layer of dust covering them, and they feel guilty that they can't keep those collections looking shiny and new like they were when they collected them. So it's just kind of an unpleasant reminder that they can't keep up anymore. And then what if you had to call EMS? Would they have room to come in and provide care quickly and easily with piles, if you have piles everywhere? So don't let your stuff prevent getting help when you would need it the most. Another thing to think about is when you keep items that you're not using, you are denying someone else the joy of using them. Some people think that people who can just give things away without thinking about it are just unfeeling and uncaring. These are the sentimental people that sometimes think this. But what if we changed our mindset around that and considered that people who can easily let go of things are willing to give somebody else the opportunity to use and enjoy something that they don't need instead of letting it rot in the back of their closet or the recesses of their attic or in their basement. It's just a little bit of a mindset shift. So speaking of mindset, there are 5 things when you start to declutter that you need to kind of wrap your head around. First, you have to acknowledge that you've got to build up your decision-making muscle. You've got to get good at that. And I'm going to tell you some easy ways to start that. Second, your house didn't get like this in a weekend. It's not going to clear up in a weekend. Unless it all goes to the dump, which I have literally seen happen. Parents will pass away. The kids come in, they have no idea what to do. They say, I'm not taking it to my house. They'll take half a dozen or a dozen very sentimental small items, and the rest, literally, they pile it up, call somebody, gets taken to the dump. So don't let that happen. If you're afraid to declutter things that you haven't looked at in a long time, you kind of are stuck. You're kind of like a wheel spinning. You don't do anything. But remember that you've changed and you've grown. Things in your life have changed, and your thoughts about those things have likely changed too. So pull them out and see if maybe you can make a decision on them. Now, the sentimental people out there, anybody? I'm sentimental. Remember, clean sweepers aren't always heartless. Maybe they're generous. Maybe instead of boxing up the baby clothes that they don't need anymore so that nobody can use them and they're so special, they give them away to a friend or a family member or a charity that extends their life instead of keeping them for themselves. So to be generous, you've got to let go. Open yourself up to the idea that if you give things away to people who will use and enjoy them, you're really making the world a better place. And finally, things are going to look worse before they look better. So be ready for that. When you start cleaning and decluttering, it may be a mess, but that's okay because you're going to know what to do. Now, clutter, I said, was an unmade decision. Let's just unpack that a little bit more. So here's some examples that might sound familiar. And I'm going to follow those by ways to build up your decision-making muscle, which is going to be key for decluttering. Now, take those papers that are in a pile on the counter. They pile up because we don't decide to make a decision or to take action. So I'll have clients that get a big stack of mail in the box after a long weekend away. Instead of standing over the trash can and culling out those obvious trash things, filing the bills to be paid, opening the personal letters, they'll set it on the counter, that whole big stack, to go through it later. Now, junk mail is called junk mail for a reason. An easy way to build up a decision-making muscle is stand over your trash can with that big stack of mail and just throw away that junk mail. Just throw it away. Seems easy. It is easy. Seems easy, but it helps build that muscle. You're doing lots of reps of something easy. Something a little bit harder. And this is happening a lot right now. Graduation announcements are coming out. And you might get some from your grandchild, and that's awesome because you know exactly what to do with that announcement. You're going to put it up on the fridge. You're going to make a plan. You know exactly what you're going to do for a gift. But there's the ex-neighbor's kid that moved away 10 years ago. And you guys have exchanged holiday cards over the years, but that's about it. And you think to yourself, oh, this is so nice. But I'm too busy to think about it today. Let me tell you right now, too busy is an excuse because you don't want to decide something that's a little bit harder. The decision is, are you going to send something? Or do they just want you to know what's going on in their life? Okay, remember I talked about the grandchild? You know what you're going to do with that grandchild's invitation. This other one, you're not really sure. So you haven't decided. It's not your grandchild. It's something that you've got to make a decision on. So you just leave it on the counter and think, oh, I'll think about it another day. What you're really doing is you're delaying that decision and creating clutter. So you're going to see it sitting on the counter. You're going to feel guilty. And you're thinking, should I send something or not? If you don't really want to, that might make you feel guilty. So it stays on the counter. And then you look at it again and it's 2 weeks after graduation and you say, well, they're not expecting me to send something now. So then you make the decision and you throw it away. You could save yourself clutter and the agony of those weeks of guilt by making the decision early. Maybe you just call them and say, hey, I got your graduation announcement. You know, I'm super excited for you. You know, I'm wishing you the best. Maybe it's just a phone call. Make a decision and act on that decision because the result is likely not going to change. So build your decision-making muscle and take action on your decisions. All right. How many of you like to shop? Anybody? I love to shop. So have you ever gone shopping and come back with a load of clothes or shoes? And then do you rip the tags off and hang it in your closet because you can't wait to pull it out and wear it the next day? You should. If you're not doing that, why not? Do you want to be sure you really want to keep it? Maybe it wasn't really worth the money. Maybe you'll take it back. Did you buy it for the next season? Did you buy it in a smaller size in hopes you would get motivated to lose some weight? Clothes that goes in a closet with the tag still on, more often than not, create clutter. The buyer, which would be you or me, didn't truly commit to the decision. If you did, the tags would be off and you would be wearing it. I've been in houses, I can't tell you how many times where a client will show me their closet and they'll say, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed about my closet. And 10% of what's hanging in there still has tags on it. And I'll say, hey, is that new? They'll say, oh, no, I got that years ago. And I never got around to wearing it. I'm like, how long ago? Oh, I don't really remember. I'll say, well, are you gonna wear it? And I'll say, well, I might. That is an unmade decision. Does that client really think that after 5 years of hanging in the closet with the tag on, looking at it, are they still going to wear it? Are they going to wear it? Does it even fit? You know, is it in style? That unmade decision from years ago is still clutter. And they look at it and they say, oh, I need to wear that. We're going to talk about expensive items in a minute and why those are so hard to release. So make the decision and act on it. Now, finally, mom's things. Mom or dad passes away. So the child is left with a ton of mom's things. Mom couldn't decide what to do with them. So now guess who gets to decide? The child. That's what got this child into this situation. They've got all these things to bring back to mom's. What do I do with it? And the child says, oh, I need some more time to sort it. I don't know what I want to keep. She didn't really say. Everything is important. So they put it in storage and they're paying for storage, or they put it in their basement or their garage, and it's taking up space and mental energy because they're thinking, I need to go through mom's stuff. I need to figure out what to do. Weeks turn into months, turn into years. They're avoiding making those decisions. So clutter is an unmade decision, and it gets passed down from generation to generation. So why do we have a hard time letting things go? There are 5 main reasons. If you're having trouble letting something go, it's probably one of these 5 things. Probably. First, I'm sentimental. You look at it, brings back memories. I'm super nostalgic. I love looking through things. And so I get it. It's very hard. And we're going to talk about some nostalgic categories that will trip us up and how to deal with those. But just know that one reason it's hard to get rid of things is it's sentimental. The second reason is we might need it someday. I'm just going to keep 9 boxes of wood screws because I might need them someday. I might build a deck. Now, we can't predict the future, and we can't plan for every future scenario. So what you need to remember if you think I'll need it someday, think about, if I let this go now, what could I do if I don't have it in the future when I need it? Could you rent it? Could you borrow it? Could you replace it inexpensively? Or could you just make do? That fondue set that's still in your box, the box from your wedding like 28 years ago, you've never used it, but I might have a fondue party. My fondue pot that I got for my wedding, I finally did let it go, but I had the hardest time because I was like, oh, a fondue party sounds so fun. I'm going to keep it because I'm going to do that one day. I finally realized I'm not going to. And if I do, I could probably run out, get a fondue pot for $20. The hot pink bell-bottom pants from the 70s that you haven't worn, but you heard that styles recycle, so they're probably going to be coming back in style soon. Could you maybe borrow some of those if you needed them for a 70s party? Cross-country skis. You moved to Florida and you hadn't used them in 12 years. Maybe you could rent those if you ever went back up north and wanted to go cross-country skiing. So when you save something for someday, you cheat yourself and others out of the opportunity to use and appreciate something now. Might need it someday is kind of an excuse to avoid dealing with it. Oh, I might need it, so I'm just going to keep it. So make a decision and act on that decision. The third reason it's hard to get rid of things is my kids or my grandkids are going to want it. Ask them. The answer is they probably don't. So ask them. If you think they're going to want it, ask them. And if they say, oh yeah, I want that, give it to them now. Let them enjoy it. If they're going to want it in the future, they're definitely going to want it now. And let's see, number 4, it represents a dream that we don't want to give up. That makes it hard to get rid of it. I like to cook. So probably 10 years ago, I bought one of those mandolin slicers. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like almost like a cheese grater, but it slices. Now, I'm not really sure why, because we have great knives and my husband keeps them nice and sharp. We love the show Chopped. So it's fun watching those cooks run around the kitchen there. And it seems like somebody was always pulling out one of those mandolin slicers and slicing something super thin. And I thought, oh my gosh, I want to do that. But when I got it out and tried it, it did not go like it did with the pros on TV. It was awkward and confusing. And so I told myself, it's just because I haven't had much practice as a chef. I'm going to practice. I'm going to practice. Yeah, no, didn't happen. Sat in the drawer for years. Every time I saw it, I felt guilty for spending the money and not committing to make it work. It was like calling out to me. I'm not going to be that easygoing chef in the kitchen who can just whip up a gourmet meal in 20 minutes because I took so long, to slice with my knives instead of using the quick and easy mandolin. So isn't it funny how something so small can make us feel like we're not going to achieve our dreams? So in order to let that go, I needed to tell myself it's okay. It's okay if I don't use that to slice my veggies. I can still make wonderful meals for my family using my very sharp knives from my husband. And then finally, the last thing we have a hard time getting rid of things is because it's expensive. I spent $1,000 on a treadmill that I used for 3 months. And I hate it, but I'm going to hang on to it because I know if I try to sell it, I could only get probably $100. That's like a $900 loss for me. I can't afford that. Well, if you can't afford it, then use the treadmill. But you still have a $900, you have a $1,000 loss because you're not using it. So expensive things are hard to get rid of. Let me get a drink. All right, so some basics on starting decluttering. First, be aware of your physical and emotional state when you're working. Don't exhaust your body or your mind. If you're working in a small space that isn't emotionally demanding, like under the bathroom sink, you might be able to focus and work for a longer period of time. But if you're working on a big space or something that's emotionally charged, like, your dad's shop tools or your mom's jewelry or something that has a lot of memories attached to it, know that you're probably going to work for a shorter time. So take breaks when you need them. That'll help you get more done and you'll feel better about your progress. Start with the easiest decisions. Remember the junk mail going into the trash? Build that muscle. Get used to letting things go. All right. So easiest decisions. That's why I always recommend to start with the trash. Get rid of trash first. Whether you're working in a big space or a small space, trash first. Just getting rid of that physical clutter makes a huge impact visually in the space, and that's going to boost you emotionally. So always start with trash. It doesn't really matter if you start in a big space or a small space. The reason for your decluttering will dictate big or small. So if you're decluttering to move, you're going to want to start in a bigger space. If you're just tired of the stuff, start in the space that causes you the most stress or anxiety. Okay. Now, if you want to tackle a big space first, especially if you're decluttering for a move, leave your cabinets and your closets for last. Even though you think they might be easy, just leave them. Start in one room, and I'm going to recommend a room rather than the garage. Doing a room is going to keep your progress front and center. If you start in the garage, the attic, the basement, that's like a storage area, it's hidden. You're not going to see your progress. So as I mentioned, start with trash first. Find all the trash in that room and pitch it. Just get rid of it. Be honest. Don't look at something that you know deep down is trash and think you're going to donate it. All right. America is blessed. People don't want a threadbare lazy boy from 1989. Even if you say, oh my gosh, it's the most comfortable thing, they just need to sit in it. No, it costs the charities money. They're not inclined to fix a broken table, even though with a little wood glue and some clamps and some sanding and a new paint job, it's going to be good as new. Okay, if that's the case, why don't you do it? Trash goes to trash. It might seem easy, but it's a repetition. It's that easy repetition of using that decision muscle. Yeah, don't donate trash. Just last week, Council on Aging had 2 of the most hideous, threadbare couches dropped off at their door, and they're having to pay the city to get them disposed of. So it doesn't help. All right. Now, the first space that I recommend doing, if you want to start and finish a space in a day, so you can say, look what I did, is under the bathroom sink. The reason is it's small. There's generally no emotion attached to under your bathroom sink. Now, if you're cleaning out the bathroom sink from a loved one that's passed on, that's different. But your bathroom sink, generally, there's not much emotion attached to the stuff under there. So pull everything out and do trash first. All right. Again, under the bathroom sink, there's probably not much to give away unless you have some new lotions or new perfumes or something like that. You might be able to do that, but it's probably either going to be trash or keep. So that helps with that decision-making muscle. If you're going to keep it, commit to using it. So those half full bottles of lotion or shampoo or, whatever, use it if you kept it. If you can donate, things that are full to a woman's shelter that you won't use, or, anything that could be used by homeless shelters, go ahead and do that. But if it's trash, put it in the trash. Donate those things that are usable and good. I think most of the shelters only take them if they're new. And then if you're not going to commit to using it, revisit trashing it or giving it away. All right. Now, once all the trash is gone, judge things if they're useful to you. All right. If they're not useful to you, you need to do something else with it. All right. Selling. Now, this doesn't go with the bathroom sink, but because you're probably not going to sell anything from under your bathroom sink. But you've trashed, you've decided what to give. Now you're maybe going to sell. Sometimes you can get a little money back on your investments that makes you feel better. Now, this isn't always the case, and we're going to talk about this in just a few minutes. Decide what you want to sell, and then decide if you should sell it yourself or hire a professional. Either way, you need to go to an estate auction and get a reality check. Is it worth your time and effort to sell it? Now, if you're nostalgic or sentimental, yard sales aren't great because you're going to rethink everything you've put out in the sale. Bargaining is going to be difficult because you're like, it's worth more. And you're going to feel bad about the leftovers. So if you're sentimental, really think about yard sales. Give only what's usable and only if they want it. Ask your family members what they want. Send them pictures. Giving should be a blessing and not a burden. You don't want to guilt the receiver into taking something they don't want or need because you don't want it. But you still want that control over where it is. So here, take this. It was grandmother's. You need to have it. If you give it to somebody who is not going to use it or enjoy it, you've just shifted the non-benefit from your house to another house. So nobody's benefiting. Give it to somebody so it can be used by somebody. Now, again, don't donate things that are trash. People during COVID were stuck at home. They said, oh, it's a great time to clean things out. Thrift stores had limited hours or they shut down and their customers weren't shopping as regularly as pre-COVID. And as a result, a lot of those organizations have limited the number and types of donations they can accept right now. So keep that in mind and be understanding if the things that you have can't be accepted at that time. It's just, part of this COVID reworking. I mean, we're trying to build back up. I'm sure a lot of them would gladly take it if they could. Now, if you plan to donate a lot of stuff, make sure to call ahead so that you'll know that for sure that it's going to be accepted. So another thing about donating to causes that you care about, it makes it a little easier to let things go. It's like a double blessing. Someone else benefits from the item and the charity benefits, whether it is, items that can directly be used by the clients they serve, or if it's a thrift store type situation, they sell the things, somebody else benefits from that, and then the proceeds of the sale help fund their services to their clients. So this is kind of an interesting tip that I've started doing, whether you're donating or selling. Take pictures of things that you're letting go of. Even if it's hard, you can make a scrapbook out of them. You never even have to look at it again, but just having a picture and knowing that you could look at it again if you wanted to is sometimes helpful. So for example, I had this doll growing up that I got for, I believe, my first Christmas. And her name was Rowdy, and her hair stood up on her head from me twirling it. So it was like this thing right here. She went everywhere with me. She went to camp, college. I got married. I had kids. I had 2 girls. And I thought, oh, I'm going to pass Rowdy down to them. My girls had no interest in her because she was weird looking. She had this like thing on the top of her head. And so that was kind of sad. So she sat in a rocker in one of their rooms for years. And then they got older and she ended up in a box in the attic. And during our move, when we downsized, I got her down and her head was plastic and it had started to deteriorate. It was slimy and yucky. And, just looking at her face, I was like, oh, I love my Rowdy. But it wasn't the same. She was icky. And I knew it was time to let her go. So I took a picture and wrapped her in a blanket and threw it away. I mean, I'm just like, I don't know. You may have something like that, but it just really made me sad. But, now I don't regret it because I know she'd just be up in the attic being slimy, which is not good. Now your keeper things, the things that you use every day, every week, regularly, those are obviously keepers. Keep the things that are the most useful and the most beautiful. Okay. Broken does not equal useful. Fix it or get rid of it. Or you might say, oh my gosh, all my stuff is so beautiful. Keep the things that are the most beautiful. Now, you don't store beauty, you use it. So put things out so you can see them. If you want to put them in a box and store them, maybe they aren't the most beautiful. Display beauty. Now, the size of an item is going to play a role in the things that you keep. 100 pairs of earrings or 100 books, which is going to take up more room. Keep the fewer small things from the more important categories and try to let go of the larger things. The more you keep, the less you appreciate what you have. If you have a favorite thing among 200 things, how do you see it? Put that one favorite thing out and put it with things that are different. It's going to bring more attention to that item. If you're going to keep some things that are sentimental, but you don't use them every day, we've got to figure out what to do with those. All right, so extra tips for some tough items. First, it has to go to a good home. Knowing it's going to be treasured helps you let it go. Second, the memory must be preserved. So take a photo. Like I said, even if you never look at it again, you can. And you might discover once you let it go, it's not really as sentimental as you thought. And then 3, take your time. Might take you several rounds. The more sentimental you are, the more taxing this is going to be mentally. This is especially true after the death of a loved one, but time can resolve some of those issues. I think the takeaway for today is once you've identified the best of what you have, make groups and display them. It's going to make your house special. It's going to make your house you without being cluttered. You do the best of the best, because everywhere you look then is going to bring you happy memories. One question I get a lot is, should you do it all at once or take multiple passes? It's ongoing. This is not a one and done thing. Do as much as you can in the first round, because you might start to second guess yourself on the second round. You might say, oh my gosh, I made it through the first round. Maybe I should keep it. Another thing is to prepare yourself to be overwhelmed. Being prepared, knowing you're going to be overwhelmed, helps you stay motivated because you know it's coming, especially if you have years of accumulation. A lot of questions. Am I going to regret it? Am I going to regret giving this away? 1 or 2 times over the last couple of years, I have thought, wish I had kept that. 1 or 2 times, literally, of all the stuff I had and all the stuff I got away. Do I regret Rowdy? No. I actually probably think about her more because I'm always telling her story. And once you're finished, you can look back and say, you know what? If I had not gone through this process and gotten rid of those 1 or 2 things I wish now I had had back, I'd still be crawling over the hundreds of other things that I can't even recall now. So just remember that as you work through it. If you're struggling, take some time. If you suspect you might be a hoarder, reach out and get some professional help. Once your desire for more space exceeds your need to keep things, you're going to be able to do it. I'll do another session on some of those sentimental item areas. But in the meantime, see if you could just get rid of 1 thing, 3 things, 5 things. It'll be easier. If you found this video helpful, please head over to jillhartrealtor.com and sign up for my bi-monthly newsletter. You'll be alerted when new videos are added, and it's full of ideas and information to help you love where you live.